You're watching East West Football Network. I got Kendall Whitley with me.
What's going on, everybody?
Man, we're inside the franchise. We're gonna break down. Oh, there you go. We're gonna break down. We're gonna break down the Seahawks and the Titans. It's kind of the draft order. We started right from the in reverse. We started with the Super Bowl winners, and we're almost out of. We're completely almost in the middle of the round. We're leading up to the NFL draft. I mean, man, that thing is literally 4 weeks away
Yeah, it is.
from today. So let's go ahead and jump right into it, Kendall. We got the Seahawks. Now they're not picking the first round. Why?
The Jamal Adams trade. They had to give up a lot to get him. So, I mean, it cost them a first rounder. So now they're picking late in the second.
It's cost them two first rounders.
Right.
So hopefully that Jamal Adams does work out for them in the long run. I mean, obviously we've always known, well, the Seahawks as of late have been known for, right, the Legion of Boom. That's what helped them win the Super Bowl, put them on the map. And I believe that the Jamal Adams trade, they were trying to replicate that. So let's look at the team. Let's look at the 2020 season. Let me give you some facts here, Kendall, and then you can kind of tell me what you thought of the season finishing. Seahawks, they finished 12-4. They took the division, but they lost to their divisional rivals in the playoffs to the Rams. Uh, we've seen them part ways with their offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer.
Mhm.
When you look at the 2020 season, how can you sum it up for us, Kendall?
I think it's a tale of two halves. I mean, I think for the first half of the 2020 season, see how they start out hot. They were letting Russ cook, as you would say, and they started out real hard. Russ had I don't know the exact number of touchdowns, but he was hot. I know he lit up my New England Patriots again like the second week. So they were hard. They let Russ cook. Then he let the Cowboys. He was letting up everybody. And
Yeah.
then, like, as I mean, I guess they got a couple of injuries, and I don't know if Russell Wilson wore it down a little bit or just the offensive scheme just changed, but he started struggling. I remember a game when he was up in Buffalo, he threw like 3 or 4 picks and cost them that game. They got blown out there down there in Buffalo. So I think, I mean, the saying "let Russ cook" it kind of flayed, kind of wavered down the stretch there, and I think, I mean, and then that defense was bad. The defense was horrible, so he had to make up for a lot on the offense on the offensive end. I think as the season went on, it was too much for Russ to handle.
I mean, when you look at it, Russell Wilson, I mean, he stirred some controversy this offseason. I mean, what did he say? He wanted more protection because he had been sacked in his career, what was it, 400 times in
A
his
lot.
career. So yeah, I mean, we've seen it too. I mean, we've seen it. They've been struggling. Let's talk about some weak points here. They actually finished, and we're talking about offensively. They finished 17th overall in the actual NFL, in the entire NFL. They finished 17th. So, but going back to what you're saying, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, they went off. I mean, they were
Yeah,
completely balling out of control. Looked like the best wide receiver corps in the actual entire NFL. In fact, we just saw Tyler Lockett just sign a what is it, a 4-year
4 year extension.
extension.
Yeah,
So it just shows you that the future looks bright. I mean, it's always good to have weapons for your quarterback, and obviously they've already played Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is one of the highest paid in the actual NFL as far as when it comes down to the quarterback. So, but let's address some of these issues. I mean, you don't have a first round pick. They're actually their first pick that they have is in the second round, picking 56. Man, let's look at what they've lost so far aside from the first round draft pick, right? Which is kind of important now. And in this time, right? They lost Shaq Griffin. They lost Jerron Reed. They were able to re-sign Carlos Dunlap. They
Chris
they re
Carson.
they re-signed Chris Carson. They actually signed Gerald Everett. So they've been trying to shore up that tight end position for a while. Um, what do you think? I mean,
I think
what do you?
another sneaky loss that they did lose was David Moore, the slot wide
Oh
receiver.
yes,
Yeah, they
yes.
lost him. He went down. He came down to Carolina. So that's another. He seemed like he always showed up in prime time. He made a lot of big catches, a lot of big plays. So I think that's another big loss for them. They're gonna have to get another wide receiver there. I know they signed Philip. They did no they no Philip Dorsett left. They released Philip Dorsett. They didn't re-sign him. He didn't play at all for them last year. So I mean, there was a lost season for him. But I think they probably can go slot receiver and maybe in the mid rounds. Just not a big need right now, but tight end. Greg Olsen, he retired. He's in the booth talking about just like we are right now. And so I think the Seattle can go a lot of different ways this year in this year's draft.
So let's dig in a little further. I mean, they got to pick 56, man. I mean, when you look at Seattle, I mean, let's look at the numbers. They're picking 56, which I've already repeated that 3 times, and I'm sorry for that. But their pass defense was horrific. They finished 31st in their pass defense. Now the actual run defense, right, was actually pretty good. They actually finished in the top 5, but the pass defense, even with the addition of Jamal Adams, and I believe they have Quandre Dix. I mean, but Jamal Adams was hurt for the majority of the season. Um, when you look at it, they made some offseason moves last year, but some of these cornerbacks that they have are not coming back this year.
Mhm.
I believe Flowers is the only cornerback left.
I think
Um,
Dunbar is Dunbar. Believe Dunbar is still in the contract.
no, Dunbar is actually a free agent, and
Okay,
he's
yes,
actually, yeah, but that's who they traded for with
yeah. There've been some talks about them resign, bring him back though.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, and you want to bring him back. I mean, the guy's just a natural ball hawk.
Yeah,
But when you look at it, picking 56 right there, some of their top needs right now is offensive line. Uh, they need offensive line. You need to
yeah.
keep your quarterback happy. You need help at your defensive backs. I mean, safeties, corners, they need them all. And what do you think? I mean, do you think that they should after that what should they address? Do you think running back, an actual running back, or you think they're safe to roll with Chris Carson? Because Chris Carson's knock he hasn't been able to stay healthy.
I think they can go running back in the late second or third. I wouldn't say go there the top need, but I would stick with offensive lineman. You can in the late second, early third, you can go Carmen Jackson, you can go James Hudson, get Russell Wilson some more help, keep him happy as you just said. I mean, you never can have too many good offensive linemen. I think slot wide receiver late on the draft that'd be great for him. And you also corner, you never have too many good corners. You also can go pass rusher or D lineman because they lost Jaron Reed and they did lose. They resigned um, Carlos Dunlap, but you can always add another pass rusher because they didn't get to the quarterback a lot last year. They was like you said, it was good against the run, but getting to the quarterback, it was not that good there.
Yeah. I think that those names actually are ascending right now. Carmen Jackson played for Clemson. I've heard his name being mixed in the first round. So that's crazy just to hear that. And you never know with the draft. I mean, like last year, Isaiah Wilson, who was projected as I mean, I had him as maybe third round gem. I think we even had a gem session during our podcast, our one of our first couple of podcasts. I mentioned him being somewhere in the third round, and then he got drafted in the first round.
Yeah,
Isaiah Wilson. I'm sorry. I'm giving you an example, right, of how Isaiah Wilson. I projected him to be there in the third round that could maybe be a starter. And look at it, the Titans actually went up there and drafted him in the first round. So these names that you mentioned could actually be potential first round picks. Carmen Jackson played for Clemson. He actually protected uh,
Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence for all of Trevor Lawrence's basic college career. James Hudson, he's a unique specimen, man. I mean, when you guys see him play football, wow, that guy was believe it or not, he played for the Bearcats, Cincinnati Bearcats. Cincinnati had a great season this
They
year.
did trade for Gabe Jackson from the Raiders, so that's good for them.
That's also true. But just to finish up on James Hudson, he's actually a very interesting prospect that you mentioned. He actually played when he came in, he was a defensive tackle that converted to an offensive line. So he plays with such aggression. So it's good to see that those offensive line be able to pancake somebody. So yeah, I mean definitely the Seahawks are always the Seahawks that I think they have a their coach. We know what to expect out of that coaching system, but as long as you have Russell Wilson in the mix, the Seahawks are going to be always in contention for the playoffs, right? So it's just about putting those key pieces around it. So real quick, let's go ahead and top them off. What do you think if they are able to pick up one, two starters that can contribute to protecting Russell Wilson and helping the back end, right? We're talking about the pass defense. How far can the Seahawks go?
They shore that secondary up a little bit, help that pass defense. Just say get another pass rusher, and they can get they got Jared Everett to help out Russell Wilson. They shore that the offensive line. I think they can have a pretty good season. They haven't really got a good look at their schedule yet. The schedule comes out later on this month, but I can see them getting back to their 12 and 13 win ways on a deep playoff run.
And you know what? I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be right there with you too. I think you can never count out Russell Wilson. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the actual NFL in entirety. So when you look at the big picture, I think if you can get those key pieces, like Kendall just said, I'm gonna have to agree with them. They're in contention always. Uh,
And when you look at the division, you're going up against Aaron Donald. You're going up against Floyd with the Rams. And the Cardinals got Chandler Jones. They just signed J.J. Watt. I mean, you got it's 40 the 49ers still they got Bosa coming back. They still got D4. So you gotta keep your franchise quarterback healthy, especially that just in the division alone.
yeah, the NFC West is getting one. It's becoming one of the more intriguing and more tougher divisions to actually face off on a weekly basis. So I feel bad to be in that. I would hate to be in that division just personally. I mean, you see them twice a year. But let's move along, right? Picking actually 22nd is the actual Tennessee Titans. And let's break them down. Their 2020 season, they hadn't had a season like this since 2008. They actually finished 11-5. So last time they had double digit win loss record was in 2008, which is crazy. They lost their offensive coordinator Arthur Smith. Now he's the Atlanta Falcons head coach. Um, and they have lost some big time names.
Yes, big time play. I mean, you
I mean, you
just
want
look
to
at
name
yeah.
name some of them off. Just
John
name.
Lewis Smith, tight end, a pretty good tight end. I never thought they used them a lot, but I know a team up in New England they're gonna use them to their best. They get the best
Anytime you
of
throw the
get the
plug
best out
in,
of them
man.
this year. They lost John Lewis Smith. They lost Corey Davis. The offensive line was pretty decent last year. There, anytime you're running back rushes for that many yards, and I mean, I don't think Tannehill was sacked a lot last year, so I think they're good there. But they lost John Lewis, lost Corey Davis on defense. They released Malcolm Butler and Adoree Jackson. I believe they released Kenneth Vaccaro too. I think they got rid of him too. So they lost a lot there on defense, man. So then they signed Janoris Jenkins. They signed Bud Dupree. So, but I think that's just a start. I mean, they got it. They need some players on D. I think the offense is fine. They did lose Corey and Johnny, but I think they can get some players, some steals.
Yeah, I mean, like Kendall's saying. I mean, you lose those big time names. I mean, Corey Davis. I think it was what was it the year before was looking like a superstar, and then part of this year he came. He had his on and off games, but I mean, it looked like he was starting to ascend to be a pretty good wide receiver. I know you got AJ Brown, but man, it looks like the Titans kind of rechanged. They want to rechange their image, right? You bring in Bud Dupree, because obviously, when we look at the facts, they finished 23rd in passing, and they finished 23rd in their pass defense, which is kind of an unusual stat line there. So when you look at it, they finished top five in running. Actually, they actually finished second in the NFL in rushing, but their passing struggled. So the actual passing game was they actually struggled to get that. When you look at it, their actual pass defense, their rush defense was good. They finished in the teens in there, but their pass defense is struggling, even with Kevin Byard. So when you look at it, when you look at their season in a nutshell, what do you think? I mean, we're looking at 22nd, picking 22nd. They brought in, like you said, Bud Dupree. What do you think as far as offseason? I mean, well, the upcoming draft. What do you think they should do?
I think they should probably go tight end. Where they're picking that Pat Freeman, he should well he'll be there, because he's nowhere near better than Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is probably going to top five picks. So, but I think it's a pretty decent tight end class this year. I think they can go Pat Freeman. They can go corner. They
Maybe Gronk.
definitely yeah, they can go corner. later on in the first round. I mean, it's a number of ways. Maybe safety, but I think I like Kevin Byard there. They still got him. Like I said, they cut Butler and they did cut Dory Jackson, but they brought in Janoris Jenkins. He's kind of on the backside of his career. 32, 33 years old. You can't build off of that.
What
Get
do
by
they call him?
Jack Rabbit.
The Jackrabbit.
Jack Rabbit. You can go. You never had too many pass. Go get another pass rusher. I
Man,
think Tennessee is a couple defensive playmakers away from making another deep playoff run.
it's kind of hard to pinpoint, right? Because they last season they did a phenomenal job being able to re-sign Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is just, I mean, he's just a monster.
Yeah.
They were able to re-sign Ryan Tannehill. They were able to address their offensive line needs. I know that Isaiah Wilson pick didn't work out for them, but that they need to improve that passing game. So, maybe it comes down to coaching, or maybe it does come down to actual, shoring up the offensive line. But when you look at it at the defense, you want to be able especially when towards the end of the season and you're in the AFC. What other team out there in the AFC just comes to mind that's just completely dominating? And the Chiefs.
The Chiefs, the Bills.
And the Bills, right? And what do they have? They have a quarterback that can what? Launch the ball anywhere.
Look at the
And
team that eliminate them, the Ravens.
look at the
So
Ravens. Yeah. So when we look at that, I think that, man, I think with that first round pick, you're looking at 22nd. Man, they need to address that. They need to address. It's kind of hard, man, because they need to address pass rush.
corner,
They need defensive back. So
yeah,
a corner right there, man. You got some names out there. I don't know if J.C. Horn will be there anymore because J.C. Horn.
he's
Um,
rising, man. His stock is rising. I
yeah,
know Farley won't be there. Certain definitely won't be there.
yeah.
JC might be there though.
I don't know about J.C. Man. J.C. just kind of lit it
They
up,
just
man.
didn't they draft a corner last year in the first round or second round for at a
Well,
Clemson?
Well, I mean, still, when your defense is that bad, your pass defense is that bad, you gotta weigh your options. Is there gonna be a edge rusher there picking 22nd, or is our defensive back gonna be there? So, I mean, when you look at the big picture, man, they just need some playmakers, man. That's
Yeah,
what they need, and I think that you can look at linebackers like Xavier and Collins is going to be there. That guy's just a turnover machine playing linebacker. Defensive backs, you got Eric Stokes out of Georgia, who ran like in the 4.29s in his pro day. So when you look at it, I think if they can address anywhere there along those lines, so let's just say they get those three starters at 2 to 3 starters at these keep, they're able to get an offensive weapon, they're able to add an offensive weapon and a defensive weapon. What is their 2021 outlook?
I think the Tennessee Titans can get back to winning, but at least I think 13 games. And look at the division. The division's going to be
Whoa.
weak. The division's weak. Trevor Lawrence first year. I don't expect Jackson to do much this year. Uh, you got the Texans. They're horrible right now. You don't know what they're going to do. They don't know who the
Yeah.
quarterback's going to be. The Colts, Carson Wentz first year in the system, so you don't know it's going to be some growing pains there. Tennessee's the only team there that's bringing back most of the players and just from a familiarity standpoint, I think Tennessee has the best chance of taking out with the division, winning 12 or 13 games.
So yeah, like you mentioned, coming up actually next Tuesday, we're going to be talking about the Colts. So I think that right now the only team that could give them, like you said, a real fight for the division might be the
Colts.
Colts because they have a very nice defense in place. And like you said, they brought in a new face quarterback who we've seen was almost at an MVP rate and almost, I mean, who knows? He could have been the actual Super Bowl MVP. But that's who we're going to be talking next Tuesday, right? We want to
Yes.
I'm gonna go ahead and say if they're able to get those starters there, they will take the division. And I just think it's gonna come down to the coaching staff. I still think this team is a little bit off. I'm not gonna predict them being able to get over the actual Chiefs right away. So to me, I think that they'll take the division. They'll win the first playoff game, but they're out divisionally. So when you look at it, that's it for today. Stay tuned. Kendall, do we have any updates, any shows tomorrow?
Got a show tomorrow night.
Okay.
Yes, we got it on Friday night jam session. We're gonna call it. We're starting back up. It was Friday night football talk last year, but we moved it. We changed the night in Friday night jam session. We got special guest West Coast Cowboys, big time Cowboys fans coming
Yeah.
on tomorrow night. He's gonna bring some action there, so make sure y'all tune in.
Man, for those Dallas Cowboy fans, you know who West Coast Cowboy is. You don't want to miss it. This guy, he brings that energy, he brings that spark. Man, he's a Cowboy fan. Uh Blood in, blood out. I mean, blue. Oh no, well, that's an actual movie. But blue, he bleeds blue and gray, right? So make sure you tune in on that, and make sure you pay attention to our Instagram, our social media accounts. And if you didn't know, make sure you check out our previous podcast. We had my sports update, and also we just had Coach Hugh Jackson on before all this shambles about the actual uh the the lie. We'll leave it at that, okay?
Be sure to
Uh
subscribe to our YouTube too. Got some shows coming up there.
yeah, make sure you do that. Thank you all for the love and the support. Till Tuesday, we'll see you then.